Hello, I am Jake Collins, and this is my commentary for the third episode of The Mummy the Animated Series, Against the Elements, which begins in India, and features the recovery of the diary of Alexander the Great, which, as we know, the guys think is going to help them find the scrolls of Thebes, but as it turns out, the diary is as much use as a chocolate teapot. But there we go. As I say, it sets up the series status quo that works very well. Alex manages to get his head and shoulders through this crack in the wall in order to get to the diary. In the second season, he certainly wouldn't be able to get his shoulders through there. They become far too manly, but at the moment, he can. And here a bit of telekinesis from the manacle helping Alex out when he needs it. Sometimes you do come in handy, he says there. Yet, in a moment, it's, I can't wait to get this blooming thing off. Apparently, Alexander's diary reckons that he has travelled to Memphis, the ancient city of Memphis, and left the scrolls there. Do you think that's going to have happened? I doubt it. Jonathan pulls a Jonathan here by extracting this gem and making the temple they happen to be in at the time collapse. I mentioned, not by name, Abu, the monkey from Aladdin, in my previous commentary, and I'm reminded of him again there, doing a Jonathan removing jewels and making the temple collapse. Perhaps Jonathan doesn't do that in this series as much as I thought after watching it a couple of times, now that I've watched it several times, but we will see him do that sort of thing, pull a Jonathan again. As the opening sequence runs, here is my review for the episode. Most valuable as a showcase for the two sides of Alex. 7 out of 10. A slightly tangential and somewhat forgettable episode, which nevertheless achieves a very effective balance between showing Alex as a typical kid and showing Alex as a great hero, thus underlining and cementing his status as a great kid hero. The staff have set is the first of many rather annoying MacGuffin artefacts that I feel the show could really do without. But at least this one is not overused. Yes, that is true. I went into the point about the two sides of Alex as the typical kid and the great hero on my previous commentary, and I think, yes, it is well shown in this episode. Certainly when I was watching it through just now, that was the aspect of the episode that I most enjoyed, but then that's hardly surprising. And yeah, it's true what I say there about the staff have set. It is the first of many MacGuffin artefacts, but it isn't overused. It's quite innocuous. It doesn't dominate the episode. It's not so bad. You see there, Alex is the only one who's bothered about rescuing Uncle Jonathan when he's going to get squished by the collapsing ceiling. Sacrifices Alexander's diary to do so, but of course he has retained the important page. Or the page that appears to be important, anyway. It's not much of a spoiler to say. The scrolls aren't actually in Memphis, and everything that happens in this episode, well, not pointless as such. It's a great episode, a great adventure, but it doesn't lead to the scrolls of Thebes in any way, shape or form. Here we are with Alex and Jonathan once again going off and chumming around in some sort of bazaar, which is a scene I enjoy, that uncle-nephew relationship, as I've mentioned before. And this, of course, is the introduction of Tut. Now, Jonathan annoys this cobra by playing badly on the snake charmer's pipe. As we know from Steve Irwin, it's not really the music that the snake is reacting to at all, but the movement of the pipe. So there's a slight plot hole there, but certainly it doesn't really matter. And yeah, Tut, being a mongoose, whenever he sees a cobra, he comes and kicks its ass. So that's exactly what he does to that cobra there, and that's how he meets Alex and Jonathan. And as you can see, he's become very attached to Alex already. Alex decides here, I'm going to call him Tut, We know from the previous episode that Alex has an interest, at least, in Tutankhamun, obviously who Tut is named after. Don't know if he regards Tutankhamun as some kind of role model or heroic figure. Aspires to be like Tutankhamun in any way. Probably he's not after a premature death, and he doesn't have a sister to marry, so he's not going to end up being that much like Tutankhamun. But there we go. Tut joins the gang, and as we see here, Rick is allergic to him, and at many points throughout the series, you'll see Rick's Tut allergy, fur allergy, but a lot of the time, it's just not an issue and it doesn't happen, as is always the case in these things. And here we go, we're going to see Imhotep and Weasel for the first time in the episode, and it's another one of those very typical scenes. Imhotep's raging, "Where are my scrolls? Where are the O'Connells?" And Weasel's going, "Oh, I have spies searching for them, master." It's just, you could chop and change these scenes between episodes, and perhaps the casual viewer really wouldn't notice. I don't know why O'Connells and Jonathan have trusted that shifty-looking Sherpa guide, and of course now he's betrayed them to Imhotep. And they mentioned the Staff of Set in that scene, of course. Imhotep's talking about it, he's going to get it, he's going to be able to control the elements with it, and in a moment we'll see him summon the water dragon with it. I mean, in some other episodes, Imhotep's normal powers can do some pretty impressive things with elemental forces anyway. But there we go. As I say, it is a MacGuffin for the episode. It doesn't really add anything in any way, but it's innocuous. It doesn't dominate the episode at all. They're not all frantically scrabbling after it for no reason. It's just something that's included, and it's done pretty well for what it is. And here Imhotep's got it, the Staff of Set. And thus we get the water dragon. Apparently the Zephyr is out of commission in this episode. That's why we've got riding on elephants and trusting that very shifty Sherpa guide and sailing this barge down the Nile so that we can be chased by the water dragon. And who should we get reappearing at this stage for his second appearance in the series, and his last until the penultimate episode of this first season, but Ardith Bay. And this scene certainly involves some nice action from Alex. As you see there, Rick's all caught up in the whirlpool. Alex notices that an arrow is coming shooting towards their boat. It has a rope on it, and it's from Ardith Bay. Alex is the one who removes the arrow from the boat, ties the rope onto the prow, so that Ardith can haul them in. And then Alex is the one who points out, "Oh, we better rescue Dad first. Let's paddle over and get him." Evie and Jonathan apparently have forgotten all about him at that point. And Alex is the one who drags Rick out of the water as well, with a bit of support there from Evie and Jonathan. So certainly Alex's role as the kid hero is prominent, as indeed it should be. Apparently Alex has had other pets before that haven't worked out so well, travelling on the road with pets. Jonathan warns him, maybe this one won't work out so well. And Alex makes the point that sometimes he's a little lonely, and he'll discuss this with Rick and Evie later. And he likes to have a pet around, a constant companion, and Tut, indeed, as we know, becomes that companion. And we'll see that theme extended in later episodes, where Alex meets a series of contemporary friends, human friends. We'll see how sometimes he does desire human company, his own age, and feels certain ways about being denied it at certain times. And I do have a list, a mental list at least, which is soon going to be a spoken out loud list over several commentaries, of which guest kid characters I do think make good companions for Alex. He's going to have a few good friends over the series who add something to the episodes they're in, and I enjoy watching. He's going to have a couple of really terrible friends in some episodes, including, I think, not the next one, the one after the next one. That's one of his very, very worst contemporary friends, as I shall say when we get on to that episode, Eruption. And then in season 2, fortunately for Alex, he's going to have 2 really excellent friends for life, who I'll be talking about at length when they turn up in the 3rd episode of season 2. But for now, back to season 1 and Against the Elements, and we've arrived at Memphis. Not Memphis, Tennessee, but Memphis, the ancient Egyptian city that is apparently buried here in the desert, and is apparently where Alexander the Great has left the scrolls of Thebes. Do we think for one moment that's true? I don't think so. We've still got 10 episodes of the season after this one to come. I think an attempt there, I'm not saying an unsuccessful attempt at all, to get some Rick and Evie into play like it was in the movies. Rick's using his dynamite, Rick's dynamite to uncover this hidden building, and Evie's saying, oh, you could destroy something of archaeological significance. Richard's like, hey, come on. Richard, I just call him, that's because they call each other Evelyn and Richard in that scene. Kind of underlining the little bit of interplay they're doing. Is this where Rick discovers Tut? Surely it has to be. And then we get on to that conversation I was mentioning, yes, here he is, about how Alex is lonely for companionship at times. And yes, that is significant in the series to come. Obviously, it's significant in that he wants a pet and he gets to keep Tut, but yeah, we will, as I say, see him having some good interplay and some bad interplay and some decent interplay with other contemporary kid, young teen characters his own age. And Imhotep's using the Staff of Set here to make these earth elementals to attack them. I mean, in any episode, he can use whatever powers he happens to have in that episode to make some sort of creatures to attack them. And today it just happens to be earth elementals from the Staff of Set. Yes, we've seen him use the Staff of Set to manipulate water with the water dragon. We've now got these earth elementals. We're going to get the fire elementals in the temple in just a minute. It's a shame the Zephyr's out of commission, really, isn't it? Because then he could have sent air elementals after them. I mean, they're very like just any old undead warriors that Imhotep occasionally conjures up and has helping him. These earth elementals, they even look like stone mummies. Which is why I say, things like that are why I say the MacGuffin artefacts like the Staff of Set, the series could really do without, because they're not really doing anything with the MacGuffin that couldn't be done just in the normal parameters of the show. But as I also say, it's not so bad the Staff of Set. They're not all saying Staff of Set, let's get the Staff of Set every 2 seconds. It's not distracting from the main action and the main point of the show. Oh, and of course he conjures this air elemental, wind elemental to make the tornado, doesn't he? Once we're inside, yes, okay, so there are all 4 elementals included in the episode. But it would have been better, more exciting, more appropriate to see this tornado, wind, air elemental in some kind of battle with the Zephyr, seeing as the Zephyr is a regular, big part of the show. So I still think slightly disappointing there. And this is Kid Hero Alex at his very best here. Some great Alex moments coming up. Driven, of course, by his desire to save his parents. And great work from Alex here. What does he do? He slams Weaseler up against this wall, apparently knocking him out, or certainly winding him, and then he nicks Weaseler's belt, loops it together with his own belt, and uses that as a rope to save Mom and Dad from the tornado. And here the manacle comes into play again, giving Alex the extra strength, physical strength he needs in order to pull Rick and Evie to Earth. Now, is the manacle imbuing him with that physical strength, or allowing him to access his own inner reserves of physical strength? Or maybe it's a mixture of both. But whatever, it worked. I'd forgotten we were going to see Jonathan and Ardith fighting the Earth Elementals again. Frankly, I feel we could have been done with them by now, but there we go. I think that's the last of them blown up. And finally, yeah, here are the Fire Elementals. And Alex is going to continue his Kid Hero sequence here in just a moment. And Tut is going to earn his keep, as Rick describes it. I think he's earned his keep by helping Alex out in defeating Imhotep, or getting rid of him for now and dealing with the Staff of Set anyway. Which is good news, because I do like Tut, and I do think he adds something to the show. Being a companion for Alex, it works well. And he gets to do some decent, useful things as well. And here's one of them. Tut distracts Imhotep while Alex gets the Staff of Set. Of course, Imhotep has found this box that he thinks is going to contain the Scroll of Thebes. It doesn't. He's surprised. Are any of the rest of us surprised? I don't think so. Oh, and what's happened? Alex has stolen the staff, and he uses the staff to turn the Fire Elementals against Imhotep. So, working together there, Alex and Tut have saved the day, and Imhotep is forced to retreat. And then Alex smashes the Staff of Set to keep it out of harm's way, so nobody bad can use it. Great stuff, great Kid Hero stuff from Alex there. So yes, my review, I do stand by that. That is the best aspect of this episode, and I suppose there's not a lot else to it. It is kind of forgettable. Once I'd only watched the series a couple of times on DVD, I used to look at episode 3 Against the Elements. What happens in that one? I'm not quite sure. It is tangential, as I say in the review. Not that memorable, but certainly not bad. And it does progress the series in a way by introducing the diary of Alexander the Great, but the scrolls aren't where he says they are, and they're going to have to keep following in his footsteps anyway. And that one was written by Tom and Greg themselves, and they did a very good job as usual. And hopefully I've done an adequate job on this episode commentary to entice you to come back and join me next time for a commentary on the next episode, The Deep Blue Sea.